That courtroom felt like someone had pressed pause on the entire world. You ever step into a place so heavy with tension that you can almost feel it humming beneath your skin? That was exactly the atmosphere. No one moved, no one breathed. Lawyers frozen in place, clerks sitting stiffly, even the judge was motionless. The only sound was the ticking of an old wall clock, echoing through the silent room and making hearts race. Right there in the middle of it all was Meera, a tiny 9-year-old girl whose legs barely reached the seat, swinging just above the floor. She gripped an old storybook so tightly that its cover was fraying, like the book was both her armor and her hope. Meera hadn't come to court by choice. No child ever does. Her mother sat on one side, clutching tissues and barely holding herself together, while her father sat across from her, his jaw clenched and arms rigid as if made of stone. But Meera's eyes were fixed not on her parents or the judge, but on Axel, a big German shepherd in a service dog vest sitting behind the petition table. The dog seemed calm, patient, and almost wise, like a guardian watching over her. What nobody expected was that Meera hadn't spoken a word in over 18 months. No sounds, no humming, no bedtime stories, just a silence that settled like thick fog. People whispered and guessed, but no one knew the reason. Not the lawyers, the judge, or even her father. Only her mother truly understood. It happened one winter night. Meera's father had a temper that simmered until it boiled over. One wrong word, and he grabbed her, shaking her hard enough to leave bruises and make her believe the world could turn against her in an instant. The bruises faded, but her voice and trust disappeared. After that, Meera withdrew completely. No laughter, no stories, just silence. Therapists tried everything: play therapy, crayon drawings, medication, but nothing helped. Meera kept her lips sealed and her eyes down. It wasn't attitude, it was survival. Then Axel came into her life. He wasn't a miracle, but he was a lifeline. The first time they met, Meera just sat cross-legged staring at him. Axel didn't bark or push. He watched her with soulful eyes as if he understood the pain words couldn't express. Slowly, over weeks and months, Meera began to reach out. To him. Through gentle touches and practiced signs from therapy, Axel became her bridge back to the world. Judge Penelope Wardshee was a legend, strict and no-nonsense, the kind who made lawyers nervous. She allowed Axel into the courtroom, after reading his reports, but probably wasn't ready for the quiet tension that filled the room that day. Leaning forward, her voice soft, she told Meera, "You don't have to speak. Just look at Axel or nod. I'll understand." Everyone froze, even the court reporter, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Then, silent as the moon, Meera lifted her hand and traced a small circle in the air. Axel stood and calmly walked to her side, sitting like her loyal protector. She tapped her chest twice, and Axel barked once, sharp and clear. The room rippled with shock. The lawyers exchanged glances, the clerk blinked in disbelief, and Meera's mother almost broke down. The judge's face didn't move. But her mind was working fast. "What does that mean?" she asked. Meera's psychologist stepped forward, pale and shaking, explaining that this was Meera's way of telling the truth when she was too scared to say it aloud. She then handed the judge a bent cream-colored envelope that Meera had given her, to be opened if Axel barked. Inside was a crayon drawing, heartbreaking, of a girl cowering in a corner, arms over her head, and a man looming angrily above her. Axel stood between them, tense and barking fiercely. On the back were 9 words written in blue marker. "He says he cares, but I only feel safe when he's not there." The room's air seemed sucked out. Meera's father jumped up, shouting that it was nonsense and the dog was trained to lie, but the judge shut him down with a sharp order to sit or leave. Axel leaned against Meera's legs, steady and calm, and she didn't flinch. Then, soft as a summer rain, she spoke for the first time in ages. "Axel knows who keeps me safe. He remembers even when I couldn't." The courtroom held its breath. The sound of her voice after so long was like thunder. Even Judge Ward's stern face cracked slightly as she whispered, "Thank you." She had witnessed a miracle. The verdict was in. Judge Ward awarded full custody of Meera to her mother. No cheers erupted, just a collective, heavy sigh that seemed to release years of tension from the room. Meera's father tried to protest. Again, but the bailiff shot him a look that said everything. Silence was mandatory. The judge gathered her papers, her hand hovering over the gavel, but she didn't bring it down. Instead, she set it aside, stood up, and quietly exited the Courtroom, leaving behind a silence so profound it felt almost sacred. Yeah, that really happened. Fast forward 6 months, different scene. The sun warmed the park as Meera sat sketching on a bench. Axel curled up beside her, half asleep but alert, ears twitching at every sound. She wasn't talking much yet, but she was laughing, drawing, and even sleeping through the night. A little boy from the nearby playground cautiously approached and asked if he could pet Axel. Meera hesitated, a flicker of old fear crossing her face. But then she tapped her chest. Axel responded with a friendly bark and wagged his tail. The boy laughed. And for the first time in a long time, Meera laughed too. Genuine, unbroken laughter. In that moment, it was clear. Healing was happening, slow but steady, with every step building a bridge back to the world. So tell me, would you have believed the truth if it wasn't drawn in crayon and barked out by a dog? Or is justice something you only recognize when a child finally finds her voice? Drop your thoughts below. Who do you think really kept Meera safe? And where does real justice live? On paper, or in the quiet space where a child finally feels seen? Let's talk about